Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pastor-Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. All right. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Drive Time. Good morning. It's your time. I'm here, of course, with your co-host for Tuesdays, Niko House. Niko, I'm going to say something I haven't said in about a month.
What's that?
The New York Knicks lost yesterday.
I don't want to talk. I'm going to talk about it. 14. It was 14 games in a row.
13.
No, it's 14 because it would have been 15 yesterday.
Three against Atlanta, 4 against Philadelphia, 4 against Cleveland. That's 11, and then 13. It would have been 14. We needed to win the whole thing to get to tie San Antonio.
Yeah, true.
We needed to have the,
you know what?
The sweep in order to.
So I'm personally not a betting man, but you know how many people's bets or how many people probably wanted to change their bet the moment they discovered Donald Trump was going to show up.
He fucking jinxed the whole fucking thing. Like
I knew it, bro. I said, what? They're closing down Midtown for what? And then I saw that he's supposed to be there, and I'm like, and this man is sleeping at the game, Pasta. He's sleeping at the game. Trump doesn't even go to Knicks games.
Yeah,
he's never gone. Like the Knicks floor, I'll call them the floor generals because literally the what's my man's name? I don't forgot his name. Black people gonna be mad at me. What's his name, Pasta?
Ben Stiller. You talking about the celebrity?
Ben Stiller. Yeah, Ben Stiller's one of them.
Tracy Morgan is one there all the time.
Tracy Morgan, but
you think about Spike Lee.
Spike Lee, yeah, Spike Lee's one. Like, bro, there are people that are going to be. Cameron used to be there all the time. He hasn't been there as much lately. He's been hating on the Knicks, but like, there are certain Knicks fans that you would consider to be like loyalists, and they're not even from even Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter showing up. Eli Manning has been a huge Knicks fan ever since he started playing for the Giants. But then Donald Trump shows up. When is the last time you've ever seen the camera pan to Donald Trump in the last 20 years? Possibly. And now all of Midtown has to be shut down because of him? Could you imagine if we had won the game? Where are they going to celebrate at? In Williamsburg? Williamsburg ain't that damn big. It was, dog. And then the refs on top of it, it was just...
I mean, Tuesday's game was just ridiculous. But by the way, let's take a listen because I didn't hear it. I didn't see it. Somebody says I owe him $20. Yes, I owe you $20. I bet him $20 on the game last night.
You should have. I told you not to bet on that game. That's the one game I said we was going to lose.
We had a friendly bet, me and Pizza Pete, my friend. I hadn't seen him in so long. This is from the game last night. I heard they booed him.
If I lose, it ain't a friendly bet.
I know, right? Let's listen. The crowd boos U.S. President Donald Trump at the NBA playoff game. Let's hear this.
Who's he saluting, bro? That's so weird. Why does he do weird? He always doing weird shit, Pasta.
So, I mean, he's not a military guy. Why are you?
Yeah, you're not supposed. Okay, God. Oh, Pasta. You're not supposed to do that if you're not in the military. You're not supposed to do that. And you do it, generally speaking, if you're in uniform, you salute during the national anthem, or you stand at parade rest. Basically, if I remember correctly. But the president's not supposed to be saluting during the national anthem. He's not really supposed to be saluting anybody. He's not saluting him.
When he gets off the helicopter, he gets off the plane. I guess he's just used to. I don't right now. Right now,
I think that was. Bro, do you think it was an awkward reaction?
One foot in front of the other, Niko. Right.
But do you think it was like an awkward reaction? Because he didn't know how to react to the boos. I think that he genuinely might have thought that they were going to like the fact that he is there, and so he's just like, oh shit, they're booing me. Yeah, maybe if I salute, then support the troops. Yeah, that doesn't work, bro. It's not 2006 anymore. You can't hide behind support the troops when you're sending them into a meat grinder that is the Iran war. So
Yeah.
it was frustrating, bro.
That's if they decide to do a ground invasion, which is like, first of all, it's the only way you could really capture or stop Iran because of the fortress they have. They're all in the ground.
Mhm.
You can bombing campaigns can't occupy a territory. You can just loosen it up for the ground game coming in. But that ground
Mhm.
game is not a game that you want to fuck around with the Iran. There's a reason why the Persian Empire was the Persian Empire. It's like a built-in goddamn fucking fortress in their country. Just look at the topographic map, ladies and gentlemen.
I had two guests, Laith Maroof and I can't remember the name of my other guest, but he was the dude was he was so brilliant. He's a professor in Europe from Lebanon, and he was explaining. He said all empires. He said the world's dominance in the empires that we've seen over the past have all been defined by region, by regional advantages in terrain. And he's like, that is why Russia will never be touched. That's why Iran not never be touched, but at least never be conquered. Not the current Russia. And he said, and Russia also will always have a way, if they choose to take their countries back. The reason that they haven't is because they've chosen not to. But if they wanted to, they could. Yeah. Same thing with Iran. Iran could take back forcefully countries like Iraq. It just chooses not to do so. And they've already showed Iraq they could take it back if they wanted to. So especially when you look at the religious, they have a religious correlation with one another. They have a religious relationship. They're part of the 12ers. So they have a lot in common still. We really don't have enough conversations about how important it is to recognize that empires like Iran have been here for so long for a reason.
Yeah.
45% of the planet, Pasta, Iran had control over at one point.
Russia, you mentioned something. Somebody said, hey, Pasta, I'm sorry I didn't hear a workout between you and the Mossad honeypot, whatever that was. U.S. civilians are supposed to put their hands over their hearts. That's what Snorky says. Put that other thing. Where's the other one on? It said, hey, Pasta, sorry to hear it. I would like to talk about my love life before we talk about what you're supposed to salute and put your hand over your heart.
Hell yeah, man. Let's go. I'm ready for the Folka.
She was Bulgarian, right? So she was Hungarian. Excuse me, my bad.
Ooh,
maybe this is why the date didn't work out. But we started talking about Russia, Ukraine, and that's when kind of things started twisting.
Bro, you can't, man.
She doubled down, Niko, into the fucking, the anti collectivism shit. You can't give people stuff that will not incentivize them from working and shit like that. I'm like, all right, here we fucking
as a Bulgarian.
Hungarian.
Bulgaria.
She's been in America for a while. She's a real estate.
Well, I was gonna say, the Hungarians fell into the capitalist honeypot. Actually, like the capitalism honeypot back in the day when they were trying to get interest into the EU, because it was them, Bulgaria, Romania, all of them kind of fell into the U.S. capitalist honeypot. Look, Pasta. I did it a Georgian once. It was like a little flingy fling, and she was beautiful, but. Same thing, bro. We really did not see eye to eye on Russia. And I really understood her perspective because she was thinking about it from more of a historical perspective based on the experiences of her family. But I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good. But I'm talking about like right now, like you don't understand. Russia is your only protection. If y'all fall under the umbrella of the United States and the West and NATO, y'all are screwed. Y'all have no military power, and they're not going to use they're not going to expend their military power to defend you if someone does come a knocking.
Yeah.
And that was a fight. It was a fight. It was a roller coaster. It was a good time, but it was a fight.
That's mainly the point of view I take too, as well, is like, look, I get it that your feelings about Ukraine, because we had talked about Russia, Ukraine. I get how your feelings are, but my point of view is still the same. As an American, I'm a non-interventionist. I think the Americas need not be involved, and that's all I'm saying. And when it came to Russia, Ukraine, we was involved. We were involved.
We were involved. Georgia too.
Yeah, it's like that's my point of view, and I don't care if they're Hungarian, Bulgarian, Romanian, Italian.
But you remember what I dated this? You remember the Israeli? You remember? I don't know if you remember that phase where I was dating an Israeli, and the way we met was an argument. So you remember back in the day when you could do Uber ride shares?
Yes.
And so me and my friend ended up in a car full of Israelis. And I mean, I'm sitting there quiet because when my friend said, "Hey, like, so where y'all from?" Because he recognized the accent was a little bit strange. He said, "Oh," she said, "We're Israeli." And I just sat there quiet, trying not to ruin the mood, trying not to be one of us, basically. Because I'm like, okay. And he's like, "Well, what do you guys do?" And my boy, because he knew what was going to happen. He goes, "Oh, my friend, he's a journalist." He's a journalist. He's a broadcast journalist. He gives analyst. He specifically talks about geopolitics. And, so what do you think about our situation over in Israel? I said, I don't want to really talk about that. We're not going to see eye to eye. No, I want to know what you have to say. I said, no, you don't. You don't want to know. But she persisted, and we argued, and somehow we ended up being boyfriend and girlfriend after that argument. I don't know how that happened, but that was like in 2016, 2017. Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, "Why, bro? We spent half our relationship."
I was
living in New York
with my girl. Like, we would I took her out for nice, which I broke my rule, Niko. No dinner dates on the first date. You go for coffee first, right? Like, that's it. You go for coffee first. You don't go for a dinner date. I went.
That's
for
a very specific rule.
Yeah. Well, I was asking.
Beautiful.
Chat. I was asking the chat last week. Hey, you got a good idea? Because it's like one of my inexpensive things that's really cool is I take a girl for Chinese food on the beach. Like I got the picnic basket.
Ooh,
and Chinese food and chopsticks and
this
put the blank down.
Finesse guy, bro.
There's a little secret spot down the road about 4 miles from my house. Not even about 3.5 miles from my house. It's you can park. There's a little cut through. I got the whole thing down. But it was, the weather here, Niko. Sometimes when I'm like, I couldn't do it. So I was like, what's a good thing to do, everybody? Nobody gave me any ideas. The chat let me down. So then I was like, fell back on the sushi date.
Chat let me down.
Chat let me down. I fell back on the sushi date, and I wasted that money.
Oh, no, you didn't go for sushi on the first date, pasta?
So,
that's crazy.
My favorite sushi spot.
I retract my statement about you being a finesse god. I would never. I've taken that, bro. I would never. On the first date, I don't even eat sushi, so it's even worse. Like, I don't even like sushi.
So appreciate it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because if you take somebody for sushi on the first date, bro, I need a guaranteed second date. I at least need a text message. I need a phone conversation.
I would have liked hey, I'm sorry things wouldn't. I don't want to pursue anything with you, but thank you so much. I had a lovely evening, or whatever. Thank you for the nice.
Yeah,
day.
That's too. That's
just,
too. Much.
She even do that. So I had to shoot her a text the other day. I was like, not for nothing, girl. I mean, I get that you don't want to go on a second date and stuff. But we don't say thank you to somebody who takes you out for a nice dinner. It's kind of.
She didn't even say thank you. She didn't even say thank you whenever y'all went home. Like whenever y'all went.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh no, that's kind of
the
it was better.
The cold shoulder one, like the flop.
Bro, it was better that you let. That was like God intervened and saved you. Because if you can't even have if she can't even say thank you because y'all might have had some political disagreements, like that, those two things are separate from each other. And if she decides to roll them into one, that means you're going to be dealing with somebody who's going to be gaslighting you the entirety of your relationship.
I mean, that's a bullet dodged.
Yeah, you got saved.
Thank you is
now
still
the chat.
Necessary.
Chat let you down, though. Chat let you down.
We should be. The chat did let me down, Niko. But we should be decent human beings and at least saying thank you in our pleases and whatnot. So let me just do this much too really quickly before we forget, because I know we're not going to talk too much about it because every time. I mean, maybe we will, but. The Knicks are now in a must-win situation this Wednesday night, in my mind. If they go back tied to San Antonio then captures the momentum. I don't want to do that. I would like us to win game 4. Please, somebody tell Donald Trump not to show up and bamboozle.
Don't fucking go, bro. Like, you killed the whole vibe.
Yes.
People don't understand. New Yorkers, we're in them. I was born in New York. Pasta was born in New York. Like, we are a very emotional, people. We how everybody will say, stay even killed. Yeah, that shit's cool. That's not New Yorkers, bro. We are when we up here, we up here. When we down, we're down. And there's just no, especially when it comes to sports, bro. There is no bro. Whenever Eli Manning won the championship, bro, they was like, man, he better than Tom Brady immediately. Immediately. I mean, and it was crazy because then it was arguments about him and Peyton, and then it was a legitimate argument that maybe he is better than Peyton Manning if he had been in some of the situations that Peyton Manning was in. Like, imagine what he could have done, considering that he came back as the 8th seed out of the wild card round, something crazy like that, and won the first chip.
I think they were the 6th seed twice when they beat New England in the playoffs.
Yeah, an undefeated New England team. So then immediately
in one team. That's the 18.
You know, they thought the Giants supposed to go back to back to back to back. That's how New Yorkers are. I'm not even a New York Giants fan like that, but like that's what my brother felt like. That's how everybody
They had the
felt.
defense; it just never held it together. And
Yeah.
stuff.
So when Trump came in there, bro, and I feel like really from the moment that there was even a fight after the game, bro. There was a fight.
I heard
in the
about it.
streets after
Somebody
the game.
saying there was a brawl or something.
And I can guarantee it probably had to do with Trump. I can almost guarantee it because supposedly it was between two New York fans, which is weird during New York Knicks games like this. They usually like, even when we lose, we're angry together. You know what I'm saying? We're not fighting each other. So I definitely feel like Trump ruined the mood. When you Pasa, I don't know how to properly explain to people what it is like to have Midtown completely shut down while the New York Knicks are in the finals. I'm not old enough to explain to people. You know, Pasa's not all that, but he probably has a better memory of what it would be like for Knicks to even be this close because of the 90s than I do. Like, but shutting Midtown down in the middle of the finals for a president the majority of these people didn't even vote for.
Yeah, and don't like
and
right
the majority
now
of the world hates.
New York.
Yeah, and they don't
Ready?
like it's. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Sure.
To be honest with you, there are a lot of people who did like Donald Trump. They're at that game because you got a lot of people coming in with money from Manhattan and Long Island.
That's another thing I was going to say.
There were Trump supporters there because the price of their ticket is ridiculous.
If you don't mind me,
right?
So if you don't mind me saying, Pasta, just really quick, that pissed me off, bro. Because if you are a Knicks fan, like I've been a Knicks fan, I had Knicks games when we were down, bro, hurting guys. Like when Melo was just by himself, hoping that him and Porzingis could just make something shake. And it was louder during those games than it was last night. Like whenever Wemby's at the free throw line, bro, the building is supposed to be shaking. And it was like, why? Because tickets are going for 100,000, 15,000, 8,000 for nosebleeds. Come on, bruh.
I got to tell you,
and that's not how it is in San Antonio. Their fans are at the game in San Antonio.
So it seemed like the Knicks were never going to get out of the bottom, right? Out of the schneid, whatnot. And then we had a month of the Jeremy Lin situation. All he does is Lin. Right, and it was
insanity, bro.
Guy just like all of a sudden they won like 11 games in a row with this young Asian kid from freaking Harvard playing, point guard, taking over and stuff. It was just, it was crazy. Melo was hurt, so
he got Lin. Lin got shafted, bro, because he never really did fall off. What happened is there's a if I can possibly gonna love to hear this. There's actually a racial bias issue at the point guard position that nobody ever wants to confront or discuss. And it is not just race. It is specifically they want you to be a Black American or they want you to be in tune with Black American culture because otherwise they worry that the rest of the team that is probably going to be a majority Black American or at least American, they're not going to listen to you or relate to you as a leader. So like you have a lot of top picks that come from overseas that are at the point guard position, but they end up playing in the reserve. So Leandro Barbosa in any other league at that time is a starter. Ricky Rubio even is a starter in any other league. The problem is Tony Parker got lucky because of who he played for. Luka Doncic, you know why he was able to start? Yeah, he was insane at that position. But you know what? When they asked him what does he listen to before games to get himself hyped, you know what he said? Pasta, Future. Like
okay.
They were like
white chocolate.
White. Do I have to explain white chocolate, Pasta?
No, let's watch this brawl. We won't explain to you.
Do I have to explain white chocolate?
About J-Dub, Randy Moss. Take a look. This was after I didn't see this yet, so they're gonna watch this for the first time. This is gonna be upsetting because, Niko. Look, there's a lot of great things that come out of New York, but where you have a lot of great people, you got a lot of assholes too. You just
facts.
You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of like
like our president, for example.
Yeah, let's play this real quick. We'll take a listen. Guys, this is Drive Time. Call in 561-247-2721. 561-247-2721. I'm here with Niko House. It is a Tuesday. We're talking a little bit of Knicks basketball, but we'll get on to all the good stuff. Israel, Iran, the bombing, that shit's going back and forth. We got to talk about that. Russia, Ukraine, still going on. Cuba, still with a blockade. It's a lot of stuff happening. But you're here with us.
Albania.
What's
Albania
that?
becoming the second Argentina.
How the hell are you going to piss off the Albanians? Here we go.
Mind their
Albanian.
own business. Bro, that's crazy. He went WWE on him. That boy went WWE. Boy, WrestleMania. That big man holding his own, dog.
There's a bunch of people that can't fight either.
Yeah, they none of them can fight. It's crazy. Now we see why these young boys be shooting so much.
What are the cops doing?
Bro, the cops are watching.
Yeah.
Wow. He said, okay, guys, that's enough. We've been entertained. Now it's back up. Did they want to see how it would turn out? Give me that sign. Crazy, bro. If I was them, I'd have thrown my punches and ran out. They would have had to catch me. They would have had to catch me fast. I can almost guarantee all of them got out that night. What? They're gonna be like, they're gonna chalk it up to emotions, and because I mean that's probably what it was.
That wasn't that bad. That
wasn't crazy.
It was whatever.
You know, Mary King was blaming it on black people, despite the fact that there were clearly more than black people in the video. There's a lot of people blaming it on black people. I'm like, what? Bro, it's New York, bro. First of all, everybody fights everybody in New York. I don't know, y'all. It's weird. People who are, if you've never lived in New York, or I guess it's a little bit different now, but back in the day, bro, yeah. I won't say that. I don't like to use the word colorblind because everybody had pride in who they were. But, bruh.
There was an understanding and a respect. There was territorial. You certain neighborhoods. You just,
and if there was a scrap, it wouldn't be like, oh man, for the most part, like, oh man, those black people are fighting the Dominicans or the Puerto Rican. No. It wasn't like inner West Indian beef, like, or like Italian. Black people didn't really have, like, they hung out with one another a lot of the times from what I remember, especially in Queens. So like, bro, it's bizarre. People try to, I feel like, project what they believe would happen in the South, or the reasons or motivations that would be in the South. They try to project that in New York, and it just doesn't work. It was probably over some stupid shit, or maybe, hey, remember 3-4 years ago, whenever they just
that wasn't that bad. That was a lot more blown up than it really was. I love the fact I got friends right now that are texting me. Like, they're not in the chat, they're just texting me directly. I love it. I appreciate it.
Get in the chat.
Somebody said, fuck New York with that bullshit. That's why I left.
That's crazy.
That's why I left. It's like, my mother, it was so funny because so we're New York transplants, right? We moved to South Florida 1979, right? When I was like 6-7 years old. So I pretty much grew up here. I spent a lot of summers back in New York. And then when I turned 14, I went back every summer to work in the pizzeria till I was like 19, right? So every 5 years, and I used to go to a lot of Mets games and that kind of thing. But I was living here in South Florida. So after COVID, there was another big push of New Yorkers that just started moving back down to South Florida. And my mother was like, these motherfucking New Yorkers, what the hell's wrong with them? My mom.
Yeah.
You're a New Yorker that moved here. That was different.
That was different. Hey, I left directly from New York to Florida, and everybody, whenever New Yorkers started moving, I said, nah, this is different. It's not the same thing. I left on my own accord because I wanted something different. Those New Yorkers left a situation that many of them helped to create.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
Have a conversation with an Italian family, right? Who's like, why are you guys so anti-immigrant and everything? You guys were called WAPs. Our parents were called WAPs without papers when they came over from New York. Oh, that was different. They give you the red answer from fucking Friday. Oh, that was different.
That was different.
We were escaping, fascism in Italy from Mussolini. Like, no, you weren't. Like, that wasn't
not when the Italians got here.
Y'all came over before that shit. The majority of y'all came over here before that. You're just immigrants looking for a better life. Like, these people are looking for a better life right now. Y'all were workers. Yeah. They're workers. Why are you taking
Italians,
their beautiful story?
Bro, Italians remind me a lot of like the West Indians that came over to New York. Like, they saw an opportunity to take their culture and monetize it and grow an economy within their own community while taking advantage of a growing America at the time. which is why Italians were so wildly successful when they got to the States. I mean, it's like, and it's okay. That's where I land at with. I'm like, and that's fine. Like, it was an opportunity. You guys, the culture has obviously changed a lot since the original times landed. But bro, West Indians did it. That's why Jamaica Queens and Queens in general is full of them. And Harlem, like, Italians did it. The Irish did it. You know, it's fine. But what is weird whenever you start complaining when other groups did the exact same thing you did.
Yeah.
Like,
It's weird.
It gets weird. It gets bizarre.
In California, that I lived there for so long, I felt a very strong connection between my Italianness and a lot of the Latin Americans that were there, and the people from Latin America. It was like, you know what I'm saying? I felt like, you know, we all like to cook. We have a good time. You know, we were very, there was a lot of similarities, you know what I'm saying? And it's just weird to me seeing like my family members, like, you know, back in Long Island hating on immigrants today, thinking that that's the big problem. And by the way, my friend put down, you know, he told me, he goes like, you know, all these people on the left complaining about Trump was sleeping, but he wasn't sleeping. Like, who gives a shit? He's still an asshole. I ain't agreeing with no left or right here. I'm agreeing with right and wrong. Donald Trump is a jerk off. He's never gone to those games. Now all of a sudden he's got to show up. He got booed. Because he's been a shitty fucking president. This Iran war shit is ridiculous. And this whole fucking kabuki theater acting like, oh, Donald Trump and Netanyahu were fighting. He's putting Netanyahu on.
Bruh.
And let him see. Jamie put up a meme the other day, and I'll hand this over to you, Niko. It's like, Donald Trump writes Bibi Netanyahu a very stern check.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
They're still getting their shit, this fake fight. The fuck out of here with this shit.
I did a hotspot video on that.
Ever. One of the worst presidents ever. Donald
might be the worst. He might be the worst. Like, next to you know, Truman. Jr. Truman is always number one for me.
Bush Jr. though.
but Truman got tricked into dropping atomic bombs, bro. Like, he wasn't even supposed to be in that position at all. Like, he was not popular. He was completely. I mean, every president's a puppet to some degree, but he was born and bred to be a puppet, and he jumped over Henry Wallace, and he's the reason that we could have. I mean, our world could be just completely different today if we didn't have Truman. But I mean, he created the CIA. I mean, the list goes on. Anyway, so I did a hotspot video about that. I'm like, hold on, people actually believe that they got into an argument. I said, this man takes his fucking laundry pasta and does it in the White House. He comes to the U.S. to do his laundry, and I'm supposed to believe Trump is now calling Bibi Netanyahu fucking crazy because, oh, he just won't stop fighting in Lebanon. Okay, so do something about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe quit giving him weapons.
Exactly. Just like, oh man, how could he?
Cut off the weapons for 1 month and see how those wars end real quick. Every bomb that's dropped, and this is why, like, you know, once again, my friend, you know those people out there, and you know, I'll bag a little bit on Candace Owens. I'm not a big Candace Owens fan. I think I made that clear. But trying to make everybody Jewish, right? To blame Israel blame the Jews for everything. That's their whole game. Trying to tell me that like Stalin is Jewish. I'm like, no, Stalin is not. Well, Lenin was Jewish. No. He was not. Like,
was it? I feel like Stalin and Lenin were called anti-Semitic at one point.
Well,
they weren't, but I remember there being a conversation about it because of Stalin's willingness to criticize the world banks.
Did exist back then. You know what I'm saying? I think this is more. Once again, I think it's a disgrace to try and talk about the Bolshevik Revolution being anything than a peasant uprising, because it's something in our memory that show that there can be a class revolution. That the poor can come up and uprise against the monarchy. I mean, Candace Owens is whitewashing what the monarchs did in Russia. She literally said the Romanov family. The Romanov family? You talking about Bloody Sunday Nicholas the Tsar? You talking about that you talking about that fucking Romanov family? This guy fucking oppressed. They were living in shacks in fucking Russia. Don't give me that shit. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, Russia was an interesting thing because, like, the royal family created the circumstance. No matter what you want to say about the Bolshevik Revolution and the fact that we know the West wanted to break up Russia, and they knew that if they could get the royal family to break up and to have them overthrown, it would give them the best opportunity to balkanize it. At the end of the day, the royal family set up the circumstances that led to the revolution that happened. Like, they set the circumstances that led to their own demise. at the end of the day. So like you can't whitewash it. And one of the reasons that Stalin was so imperative, right, was because he held Russia together via what we would like to call an actual democracy through worker rights and through actually doing what was best for Russia in a democratized process. You can complain about the centralization of it if you want. I didn't see a problem with it. That centralization helped them get through World War I, World War II, and all kinds of shit. So, but survive, right? Survive until the United States had to throw everything they could at them, from propaganda to the intelligentsia that they used to infiltrate Russia, to the assassination of Stalin, which, by the way, me and Pasta actually had a conversation about this way back in the day. A lot of people think that the KBG started first and then the CIA came after. No, the KGB was started because Stalin was assassinated, and that was after the CIA was formed. It was started about 2 or 3 years after the CIA was formed. KBG is a response to everything the CIA had done, and yet they in the US or in the West, we're always taught that KGB is a specter that listens in on every single call and basically is guilty of all the things the CIA is actually guilty of. So but go ahead, make your point about Canada. My bad, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. This is what the show is all about. We got to get somebody to call on in, and I know a couple people they have disagreements about this, and that's cool. I like the healthy conversations. That's why I started a show where I got a phone number 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. Did you test the landlines today, there, Sleepy J?
No, but
everybody just
Sleepy J is sleepy.
Everybody's sleepy.
No, all right, we got a call.
What's when he's at his best?
Here we go. We got a call. There it goes. As soon as we say test the line, somebody calls.
That's when Sleepy J's at his best, when he's sleepy. That's where he got the name from.
Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
My name is Don Debar, and I'm calling from Austin, New York.
Hey,
Don, what's going on?
Come cry with us, man. Come cry with us.
All right, hold on a second.
What's up, you guys?
How you doing? I don't think Don cares too much about the Knicks, do you, Don? He's no.
Well, they lost. That's what I heard. So
you heard.
I was listening to people, going on about this year, and it's the first time since, what was it, 1973 or something?
Yes,
we have a chance.
The last time they won a title was the year I was born, 1973. The last time they were in the finals was 1999 against these same San Antonio Spurs, except they had Tim Duncan and David Robinson and had no shot in that game, in that series. And 94 was the last time they had a real chance, where it went to Game 7 against Houston, and then John Starks threw up an 0 for like 19 or something in the second half, whatever it was.
Yeah, but man, the truth is, man, Hakeem, bro. That, I don't know if he was going to beat Hakeem because he was really the best. Outside of Jordan, he was the best.
Number one pick the same year that Michael Jordan was the number 3 pick. And this all happened. The Knicks went to the finals that year, and Houston won the finals twice. It was the 2 years that Michael Jordan was playing baseball.
And we never got our Houston Knicks. We never got our Elijah Wan, Michael Jordan, bro. That's one of the things that it's very disappointing. We, the same way we never got our Kobe LeBron. We never got our I wanted to see if Michael Jordan would be as effective as attacking the basket with Elijah Wan down there. Go ahead.
But this is Don. So Don has taught me a lot about the Bolshevik Revolution. He's one of the go-to guys that I've spoke to. And I've always heard about it before in the past, and even in high school when we talked about the Bolshevik Revolution, we were taught that it was a peasant uprising. Now there's this rumor out there that this is, and people talk about this. Some people on the show who call on in, somebody the other day called on in and talked about it. And a lot of people think that the Bolshevik Revolution is all about Jews killing Christians, right? This is the whole thing.
Hold up, what? The whole thing?
This is going around talking about. This is what Dan Bilzerian's talking about. That's what a lot of people, they go to this one particular author. I forgot his name. There's one set of, there's multiple books about the Bolshevik Revolution. They're going to this one particular author saying this is about Jews killing Christians. In the tweet that Candace put up, she goes, "I'm visiting Moscow. This is where the Satanists killed the Romanov family. The Christian community better wake up." Number one, the Romanov fucking family, like I talked about, that's the monarch. You fucking got to be kidding me. Bloody Sunday. I even remember that. And that was all about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Don, I'm going to hand it over to you, let you talk. But Bloody Sunday was about the czar killing 1,000 unarmed people that were a bunch of Christians. It was led by a priest. I know they were singing hymns and whatnot, and they were bringing a signed paper, a signed agreement saying, hey, man, can you change? And he mowed them all down. And then she also said the Christian community needs to wake up. The Bolsheviks weren't Satanists, number one. And number two,
a lot of them are Christians.
Going to go on this whole thing where Christians are being oppressed all over the place. I understand there's oppression of Christians out there in the world and stuff like that, but we're a Christian nation, and every fucking bomb dropped by the Zionist fucking entity on Gaza, on Lebanon, on Iran comes from the Christian nation of the United States. This, to me, is once again to capitulate back to Islam is bad. Christians are under attack. The white man is under. You heard the shit where the white man's under attack, right? I mean,
oh yeah, that's. I mean,
out of here with this shit. Don DeBarle,
we're going extinct. It's like, well, it sounds like your men and your women are just deciding. Hey, they say they're going extinct, but it sounds like, you know what I'm saying, your men and your women just got tired of eating saltless food, if you catch my drift. You know what I'm saying? It is had to mix it up a little bit, add some flavor.
Donnie, jump in.
That was a good one.
So they're done. Did we lose Don?
No, Don's.
I brought my mic down. I was choking. And I didn't think he really needed my voice for the last 82 minutes. So 1973 was the last.
He's back to the Knicks. Yeah.
Let me ask a question. You guys might know this because it was an interesting history that you gave. When did Dolan buy the Knicks?
Oh, he got it passed down to him. Right?
Well, the father had it, though. When did the father?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know when the father bought it, but I know that James had it passed down to him. But he's not the primary owner anymore, thank God.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm wondering when the Dolan that just had it took over along the timeline of when they started to suck.
Well, it was in the 90s, right?
And they didn't hire anybody. I remember
1999.
Together,
yeah.
The team that came together in the 70s, that team, in the early 70s, they were raiding other teams and hiring them away. I remember Dick Barnett, they grabbed from the Pistons, and like they were, I don't know.
They were doing like the Lakers were doing.
Yeah, you think, but they want that. And 73 was the last time I was paying attention to this. By 79, I wasn't into basketball, so I started reading stuff like the Bolshevik Revolution, for example.
How do we take our team back? How do we give our team back to the proletariat?
You know, here we are. I'm sorry, man. In the morning, I get a little like this. My sinuses are really funky.
Oh, you're okay, man. Go ahead.
And at the end of the at the end of the day, here we are in 2026. The Knicks are coming around, so you guys have something. We still haven't had a Bolshevik revolution. We don't have any real Bolsheviks. The ones that claim to be Bolsheviks mostly are full of shit. They think it's about, what you can wear dresses and all this other crap, all kinds of identitarian stuff, or their mirror image. They hate to think of it that way, either of them, but their mirror image are the ones who think Bolsheviks are some subsect of Jews that are, working on the project of dominating the world and the universe or whatever.
Yeah.
So the actual Bolsheviks were a collection of people. There were a number of, Russia was an interesting alternative development model historically for Europe and Asia all by itself. It was so vast and immense. It goes from the Sea of Japan, to Poland and Scandinavia. In fact, it included Finland, and it goes down to the Middle East.
I didn't know it included Finland.
And so you have all of the things that happened in Europe over the centuries following the Roman Empire, where you have all these little mini states that formed, and in every valley between mountains, people developed their own languages and whatever. And in Asia, you had a different developmental model. You had China and the Mongols, and then India and that peninsula, and then the things east of China, Japan and Philippines and whatnot, and south of China, Indonesia, and et cetera. You have the colonial history of those areas, which are distinct from the colonial history of Europe, since Western Europe were mainly the colonial powers. And so coming into the 20th, even into the 19th century, you had a different developmental model until around the time of the Civil War here, where statutory slavery, I forget the term that Barthe uses, but where de jure slavery existed in the United States up until 1865, outside of prisons. It still exists there. You had feudalism up until 1860 or the early 1860s in Russia, overt, de jure feudalism. They had a revolution there at the time we had our Civil War, where serfs who were legally in the same stature as slaves were given their quote unquote freedom, like the slaves here were given their quote unquote freedom in 1865. And I don't think they had a Reconstruction period though. So coming into the 20th century.
Hold up, in 1865 they didn't have a Reconstruction? How do you mean? Because I remember didn't it become like a, say that again?
In Russia, no.
Oh, okay.
They were legally freed, but there was nowhere else for them to go but to continue to work on the state or whatever the hell term you want to use. And also, unlike in the South here, where for about 6 minutes some of the freed slaves got to vote and hold office, that never happened in Russia, to my knowledge. Nowhere, anywhere on the scale has been memorialized here. I mean, that was over right quick and replaced with Jim Crow, and Noose and everything, but they didn't even get that moment there. So we come into the 20th century. You have a huge population of former serfs, and this is now these are the agrarian part of the revolution, basically. And you have also in Russia, though, you had some modern, as in at the level of the European colonial powers, cities, particularly St. Petersburg, which was actually built by Peter the Great to be one of those. That's why it was so far west in the empire, so it could look out on Europe and be part of Europe. And also Moscow, which is a very old city. I mean, I think the wall around Moscow is 1,000 years old or better, if I remember. So
that's crazy.
Coming into the 20th century, you had first an attempted. You have socialists and like multiple socialist parties. Lenin.
21st or 20th?
20th century. Did I say 21st?
Okay, just want to be clear. Yeah, you said 21st. I just want to be clear.
Around 1900.
20th.
Coming out of the 1800s into 1900, you had a revolution in 1905, an attempted revolution, which was squashed. Lenin was one of the players there, as were many of the others that we hear from later, including Trotsky. And
I'm not a fan of Trotsky.
And Lenin wrote an awful lot at that time about the landscape inside the country. You had socialist revolutionaries. You had I forgot, there were, like I said, there were 4 or 5 major socialist parties that were active in the cities, and then you had like this mass of peasantry, where the serfs became peasants. That's about the only thing that changed for them, other than kind of the same thing that changed for slaves here. You still have to work like that, but if they didn't need you this month, you didn't eat.
That's so crazy. So this is happening under the royal family, correct?
Yes, these are the Romanovs that everyone is crying tears over.
So it's just I find it hilarious because the black people were going through similar bouts of class struggle, and we supposedly had democracy in the U.S. Isn't that crazy when you think about it? It's like, they're going through all this, but there was like a whole monarchy they couldn't get over, couldn't overthrow. But the U.S. is a democracy, and black people were going through the same thing. It's crazy.
one of the things that you need to keep track of is the fact that when this happened in Europe, in Russia in the 1860s, the motivators, you had probably the support of the serfs because they did what they were told by the nobility that, they owned them, basically. They had the nobility and the church, just like in the feudal period in Western Europe. But it was the nobility that was looking in essence for the Magna Carta moment in Russia's history, where the all-powerful royal family, the king, etc., the queen or the king, Catherine, whoever it was, had to share power with a college of like-minded, sadistic, thieving, greedy sons of bitches. And so,
like Rome,
these are the families so we had that happen first in the 1860s and then in 1905, and then we go into World War I, where you had an entire reconfiguration of Europe in the aftermath. And in a number of countries, including in Germany, by the way, the workers that had it up to here, they were going into service where they were forced to, with on their lips saying, we're not fighting the rich man's war or for the bourgeoisie, as a matter of fact, or for the owners. We're going to stand. We have more in common with the people we're shooting at than with the pricks that are sending us there and telling us who to shoot at. Lots of them went in with that on their lips, and when they came home, they kept it in mind, and they decided it was time to settle the score with their owners. And so in Russia, you had uprisings and across Eastern Europe and across Western Europe. You had in Germany, for example, the same thing. You had an uprising there, and also I forget when the hell was in the early
German
20s.
uprising. The German uprising was strange. So it wasn't strange because I understand what took place during World War I, but it was strange in the sense that Germany was scapegoated for things that they weren't actually guilty of in the international community, and you would have assumed that would have galvanized the people and created a sense of unity, because they Germany was. I don't know if anybody got the shaft in the last 100 years outside of Palestinians after World War II than Germany did in World War I, because they've been paying the price for just existing and industrializing past the rest of the West since that moment. And even to this day, I didn't even realize how big of a part Germany is still playing in Europe's economy, even though because all the industrialization that they have internally, they're not relying on export or imports from foreign nations, and they're getting punished for it regularly by Europe so that they can never return to form. So I would assume that just they would have been unified after World War I, not having internal civil wars.
You had a class contradiction that was paramount. First of all, Germany as a nation state developed very late in Europe's history. It was after the middle of the 19th century. In other words, after 1850, you started to see this Saxony, all the different constituent states of Germany finally became a nation state. I can tell you the thing in a minute. I'll look it up while we talk. The communist so-called revolution, they had a November revolution in 1918, 1919, which is right after I don't know when they signed the armistice, but that was right at the very end of World War I. The workers and soldiers brought down what was then the German Empire, Kaiser Bill and all that shit. And they tried to model it after the Russian Revolution, but the communists failed, and you ended up with the Weimar Republic. And the Weimar Republic is the bourgeois republic that lasted up until it was rise. It was the one that signed the peace treaty, if I remember correctly, at Weimar with the Britain, United States, and France. And that peace treaty, many people blame for the rise of Hitler in Germany because it extracted all kinds of reparations payments that impoverished the German economy, and also put caps on the kinds of heavy industry that they could have.
Yeah.
In other words,
the elites sold out. So you're telling me once again, another powerful nation had their elites sell them out, their people out, despite the fact that it was not the people's fault that the war started to begin with, bro. Germans, yo, it makes sense that they're so.
I got a beautiful house with lots of servants, and I have my beach house with lots of servants, and I got some servants to drive me there and back, and serve me food and drink and whatever the frig else. And almost all the rest of everybody else is fucked except for you. You have the same things. When you and I talk, the first thing we're talking about is, this is a great life. How do we keep it? Who doesn't get that? Okay?
Hey,
who doesn't get
that? I mean, the problem is, how do you keep it? Oftentimes goes into how do you prevent a revolution from you know what I'm saying? Like, so FDR had it down pat, because FDR gave the plebs just enough for them to feel like there were massive changes in their lives.
His brother said, if we don't give them something, they're going to eat us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Hitler ate them, basically.
Here's where Marx's genius comes in. Marx takes his slide rule of the day, whatever the frig they used, and does the calculus that in order to sustain the activity that sustains the people at the top, the share of what's produced, whether it's in actual, oats and bread or whatever, or in capital, the abstraction from it, has to increase, or else the whole thing collapses. My share of it. If their share of it increases, sooner or later, they have a larger share and they start being used to be tail, that's now the dog. And so you have another dynamic, which is the increase in productivity that comes with mechanization. They were talking back then about factories that employed 15 or 20 people, that became factories that employed thousands, that became factories run by computer, that are now factories that are computers. And a smaller and smaller share of people involved in the production, they become more and more irrelevant. These contradictions, the problem is these irrelevant things are still humans. They feel, think, and can be self-motivated when you turn off the TV and take away their phones and make them look at the fucking world. And so this contradiction is cooking under all of this all the time. And
but is that happening a lot in Germany right now? Because I've heard the opposite. I've heard the opposite in Germany.
The reaction, see, you have people, you have these networks, communications networks. Social media is an intensification of it. But even before that, with newspapers and then radio and television and cinema, you have a place where everybody goes, all of the working class goes, and to entertain themselves, quote unquote, but they're being educated while they're being entertained in some very basic themes that have to do with the very basic actions that you have to take to make change.
Yeah,
you're inadequate. There was a movie, I forget who the hell made the damn thing, like John Carpenter, one of those people, and I don't remember the name of it either. But in it, there's this guy finds a pair of sunglasses and puts them on.
They live.
And all of a sudden,
they
live.
It was with Roddy Piper, and I think it was John Carpenter.
Possibly the movie connoisseur, boy.
Yeah. They Live. What a good movie if you haven't seen it out there. You put it on and you see who the aliens are.
Not only that, you see everything. The signs that you're looking at.
Exactly.
You see a couple running down the beach and cigarette says conform, or quiet, or all these different things in a black and white, generic packaging kind of. It's an interesting metaphor for the situation that exists. So the point being that now they have this capacity, to an individual level where everybody knows what you ate, when year you were born in, whether or not you believe in astrology or your religious beliefs, how you dress, what you smoke, drink, eat, where you go, what your philosophy is, and all these things can be measured mechanically by AI. I don't know how deep you play with AI, but that shit is some deep shit.
Oh yeah, it's getting crazy. I ain't gonna cap. Claude is getting so good at their job that I can't remember the name of their founder, but the parent company, but basically the US government tried to buy them and force them to open up their data so that the US government could take their processes, do what they do, probably let ChatGPT steal their functions like they did with Instagram and Snapchat, for example. Like, and because Claude is crazy now. Like, you can link sites that would otherwise be like plugins for your Google Chrome, for example, and link that into Claude. So now, like, for example, Claude can watch a YouTube video for you, not just summarize it based off of the summary that YouTube gives you, but literally watch the video for you, summarize the video for you, give you a transcript of it. And if you want it can clip that video down into sections for you and then give you an analysis of that compared to other videos in the same niche.
Give me the bullet everything. Yeah, no shit.
It's scary.
Yeah. But Don, I think you were on path. We were trying to get to the Bolshevik kind of. We were close to that year. So.
Yeah. So at this point in time, there are organizations that spring up across Russia that are workers' organizations, and also, by the way, we're talking about 1905. Not true, but if we're talking about 1917 or coming into 1917, this is true. The soldiers also. There was actually a naval.
Sick and tired of fighting those wars.
Yeah, well, yeah. What do you call it? A mutiny. That was a rallying point for the revolutionaries in what became Leningrad. Actually, it's now again St. Petersburg. And so you had the social democrat. They called at the time what we now call communism. They called social democracy then, which is
now social democracy is just capitalism without. I call it unconsensual capitalism is what I call social democracy.
Yeah. Now social democracy is FDR is social democracy now. That's where we were going. What happens is that there's a tug of war in terms of strategy and a tug of war in terms of the dynamics of society between how much to give. All right, we need to gather more and more in order to stay here. They need to be sustained. They're being more productive every day, even though what used to be the entire working class now 10 times as much is produced by 6 members of the working class. That really belongs, when you're looking at it, to the entire working class. So if where before I had to work 40 hours to produce my sustenance and your profit, now I only have to work 1. What they do now is keep the 39 hours difference and start nipping at your hour.
And start nipping at your hour, yep.
And so there's that dynamic. Then there's the people in their class that are saying, you dumb mother, where what you're going to do is provoke a revolution. Give them a rebate on their taxes. Give everybody a free computer. Give, whatever. Keep them calm. Drug them. That's a big one. Legalize marijuana. Legalize mushrooms. Legalize every damn thing you can find to just make them shut the hell up so I can enjoy my cocktail, or my golf game.
But to be so with the Bolshevik Revolution, though, I feel like the important part that Pasta is trying to remind the public of, like, is that you will see revolutions, genuine revolution throughout history, be reformed and the discourse be transformed into something that actually benefits the elite's narrative rather than the narrative that should have been taken out of it, which is revolution is possible and the people are pissed and organized enough. And we shouldn't be pretending as if, like those 15, Jews were able to topple the entire Russian Empire. I'm like, that math ain't mathing, guys. That math is not math, mathematically speaking, is what I'm saying. And once again, like you were saying, like, and we shouldn't be idolizing a royal family that was, for all intents and purposes, terrible. I mean, they were terrible. That's why Anastasia was made. You got to make propaganda when the family that was brutal.
Well, the area, Niko and Don, the area where people, what they say is that in 1918, after in-house arrest for Nicholas the Tsar, the Bolshevik Revolution, the leaders of the Bolshevik Revolution killed the whole family, right? They wiped out the monarchy, killed his children, whatnot, and everything like that. So that's where they talk about the Satanists and the Romanov family. I think they're kind of referring to the fact that the Bolsheviks killed the whole family because they were so frightened. Correct me if I'm wrong, Don. They were so frightened that they didn't want the fucking monarchy coming back that they tried to wipe it out completely. So
it makes sense. Unfortunately, it's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you want children and relatives that really, maybe they're just living their life. You don't want that, but the reality is a revolution. When they say, "Oh man, kids died in Iran," that's what happens in war. No. You don't purposely double tap a children's elementary school, and that just happens. But in a situation where a royal family that's been in power for centuries has a chance to make its comeback if they have the right allies on their side, the reality is in a revolution, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to let it slide. They're not going to let that happen. You just can't, and it's sad. But the reality is the royal family had a chance to make things better, to ensure that the rest of the royal family would not suffer because of the actions of just a couple of people. And they chose to try and maintain power through force and oppression. And this is always going to be the result. And, what we're looking at in the U.S. right now, bruh, I don't see how it ends any other way if we continue down this path. Because it's not just, like, it was one thing when people were suffering just because of actions that the elites and the corporations were taking to screw people over in the U.S. But now we're fighting other people's wars, and it's not even like we're hiding it at this point anymore. We are fighting Israel's war. We are losing casualties because of it, and we're suffering even more in the U.S. And then the president comes out and says, "I'm willing for the Americans to pay any price we need to pay for that war for Israel." And I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
Not just, but there's the thing too as well. It's not just Israel. There's a whole industry that's making a lot of money fighting Israel's wars, and they're happy that Israel gets all the blame for it.
But
right?
Are they making a lot of money though?
Oh my dude, how much? You're a Navy sailor. Shit. You know how much it is. Like to crack a Coke on a fucking aircraft carrier in the fucking Med is like $6 a Coke. Every single time you get all your jeans redone or anything else, the uniforms, they got to put them up. Levi's makes money. The belt company makes money. The boot company makes money. The sock company makes money. The bleach company
I can make an argument.
The coffee company makes money. I mean, all these.
But here's the thing about that, Pasta. That assumes that for those companies, that war is actually more profitable when in reality, we don't know that to be true. A healthier middle class with money circulating within the country, maximizing industry within the country would make more money overall for these companies and their the people working for them. Money.
They're already and the difference is when the state picks up the bill, you can charge the state 10 times more than you charge the consumer.
That's the issue. And then it's being based off of how much money it looks like the company is making. It's also based off of these shares. It's a quarterly thing. And it's like, well, the shareholders made a lot of money, and therefore the company is making a lot of money, therefore everybody's benefiting from it. No, that shareholder bro, I can't stand when people quote to me the stock market. That is, boy, you want to talk about Fugazi. The stock market is imaginary. So Bitcoin, you know what? It took me so long to believe that Bitcoin would actually yield tangible results, be considered a legitimate way to trade and make money. It's because of the stock market. That's what took me. So I'm like, the stock market is fake as hell. Why would I then believe in a digital coin?
All based until on I learn more.
Yeah. It's, in Bitcoin, the speculation on Bitcoin actually does make sense. The speculation in the stock market is so easily manipulated. And there's so much insider trading and so much, like, it is insane what our Congress people are able to get away with. And then we keep being told it's because the wealthy people are just really smart and they know how to take advantage of opportunities presented to them. Oh, it's not because they, use this Rockefeller method of cornering the market, taking over the market, controlling the like even that, this UFC fight that's supposed to take place at the White House. But it ain't nothing but a big ass board meeting where there's about to be a bunch of insider trading, and they're trying to figure out how to pivot in a market that's going to be highly volatile because of this war in Iran.
Yeah.
If I was Iran, listen, y'all, if I was Iran, there's a big UFC match coming up, and it's going to be right in front of the White House. A lot of important people going to be there. I'm letting y'all know what publicly is available and like it's on the news. the people who are going to be at some of the biggest movers and shakers in the world, and specifically within the parties and within the administration, are going to be at this event. I'm just letting Iran and their allies know.
Hold on one second. Don, we have people waiting to get on. So could you get to the point you were trying to make and wrap it up about the Bolshevik Revolution so we can get to the next call? This call went on a long time, and I want to make sure that this is a show where people can call in. But I
didn't know we had somebody waiting.
Somebody said we'll wrap up the call back in. I think they were waiting, and we left them waiting for a while, so they just hung up. But Don, go ahead.
Well, let's just go on the last point. The killing of the Romanov family was calculated to sustain the revolution against an attack from someone rallying around someone claiming to be the legitimate, heir of the Romanovs, and therefore the legitimate regent in Russia. Remember, this is a 20th century Europe before World War II, where the royal families claimed. Look at Britain now. So if someone blew up the British government, took over, you had a socialist revolution, whatever happened, and they squirreled away Charles, and suddenly, like 5 years later, when they're getting ready to, after they starve it, like they're doing in Cuba and Iran, etc., they're ready to install a puppet government. They put Charles at the head of it. They were trying to avoid that. In the 1980s, as they were squeezing the Soviet Union and preparing for 1991, which is what happened, there were a couple of phony heirs of the Romanovs, but the most credible of them was a guy named Vasily Filatov. He claimed to be Tsarevich Alexia, meaning the son of Tsar Alexia. I'm sorry, the son of the Tsar, Alexei. And he went public a little before he died in 1988. This was the guy that they were going to, he was on TV. I am a Romanov. I've been hiding, my family's been hiding us, ever since the revolution, waiting for this moment. The people are about to arise in the Soviet Union, in Russia in particular, and I'm going to go back and claim my rightful throne. They wanted to put that shit away, and they did a pretty good job, because this clown, he died in 88, but I think he popped his head out like in 85, and he was everybody pretty much agrees that he was not a Romanov, but through genetic testing. So that was the purpose of doing that. You rightly bring up Iran in this context, because you see the Shah's son, there are people that are, hi, we're true Iranians, we want our king back, our Shah back, and he's the legitimate governor. All that bullshit. That's why you did it.
Yeah. Don, I love you. I can talk about this all day.
That's very educational.
This is what's coming up right now. You know what I'm saying? Me and Don talked about the clip when Candace Owens went on Jimmy Dore and started talking about this shit. Dan Bilzerian talks about this shit all the time. They really try to change what's happened in the Bolshevik Revolution, stating that it's about Jews killing Christians, which that is such a fucking lie. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I'm not a history buff, but I know enough to know that is, listen, just the simple brass tacks, and Don, I'm going to let you go, but the simple brass tacks, when people talk shit about fucking Stalin all the time, to me, what I'm seeing is that the ruling class is trying to sell you American imperialism, going, yeah, we dropped a couple bombs on some innocent civilians in Japan, but look how many people Stalin killed, right? Look how they're trying to say that American empire is still the lesser of two evils than what's going on with Mao, what's going on with Stalin. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to try to bastardize these words no matter what and change what happened, especially when it comes to the Bolshevik Revolution. I mean, it's just, to me, I'm not buying it. And I think it's a huge lie that they're trying to sell. And it's, once again, it's this whole kind of blame Jews for everything. I had a friend yesterday. I don't know if he's still watching, but once again, Stalin was Jewish. No, he wasn't. He was an Orthodox Christian. And
Russia might be the most Christian nation in the world. They don't even celebrate Christmas the same time as we do because they're so Orthodox, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to believe there was some Jewish takeover.
Yep. And once again, this is something when I was talking about, I was kind of clarifying. I said, I know the Russians did close down, the Bolsheviks did close a bunch of churches down. And, and Don was kind of explaining to me, it was very much like it was in Europe. The monarchy used the church as the arm of the oppression.
Of course.
So when they were closing these churches down, they were shutting down their oppressor. And then 10 years after Stalin had power, he opened up more churches than any prime minister, president, leader, ruler in Russia ever. So
because they only
Yeah.
I just want to say they only closed down some of the churches. Like that's the part that people they say, oh, they closed down some churches. Yes, some churches, probably because those churches were affiliated with the institutions that were oppressing the Russian people and working on the side of the monarchy. We've seen this over and over again throughout European history. This isn't anything new to anybody.
Yeah. Well,
right,
that's
we've got the professor on now.
All right, Kevin, you're here. Thank you so much, Don DeBar. What's going on?
Please tell me we'll talk about Iran, because this Iran situation is crazy.
Professor.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, buddy. What do you got for us?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm still hearing a conversation. That's why. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's funny. I've kind of changed my mind on the weighting system because I can't hear where the conversation where the conversation took a left turn about the Bolsheviks. When Lenin was in charge of the Bolsheviks, immediately they got attacked by the Green Expeditionary Force,
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, you cut out for a second.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Well, there's still a conversation going on behind me.
No.
Where? I hear now.
Oh, you guys aren't hearing it? I'll try and ignore it.
Where?
Yeah, where?
Okay. Do you have YouTube on or something?
You got to turn your radio off.
That might be it.
Oh, maybe that's it. Okay.
Yeah, if you have the YouTube on, it's going to be delayed by about 45.
I should know better than that. Yeah, well, I thought with the, whatever. This is new to me. Okay, so, Lenin did not think that the plan for rational or theoretical, or you can even say scientific Marxism, was for they thought Germany was where it was going to take place. And when Lenin took power and immediately got attacked from all sides, what he believed is he was trying to basically just keep it on a holding pattern, almost like an airplane circling the airport, waiting to get the landing permission, because he thought that the real socialist revolution would happen in Germany. And obviously there were the capitalist class supported in large part the National Social, the Nazis, to smash the communists. As a matter of fact, most of the early concentration camps, besides societal, people they didn't like, like Jehovah's Witnesses and cripples and things like that. They were mostly filled with political dissidents. The idea that capitalists were banking on the Bolshevist revolution is it's not even worth entertaining.
That is an argument, though, Kevin. Kevin, that argument is out there that the Wall Street bankrolled the Bolshevik Revolution.
Oh no, that is partially. Well, I don't know about the. So here's the thing. I don't know about it being the catalyst to the Bolshevik revolution, but there was an attempt to co-opt how it concluded and who would take power after. That. I mean, the UK was heavily involved in that. Yeah. That's where Trotsky got a lot of his money from.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm just going by Marx's writings and by the Dictionary of Marxist Thought, second edition by Tom Bottomore. That's to me. That's. I mean, look. I think anything can be. Everybody tries to co-opt something that's popular.
Fair.
But I can't see the capitalist class trying to co-opt something that was gonna cut their throats for them.
Yes. Yes. And we
co-opted because you don't want to cut their throats.
Hold on. Right after the revolution, the fucking Rothschilds, or I think it was the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers, send out militias to try to guard the oil fields in Russia that the Bolshevik Revolution was trying to take back. They panicked right away.
Yeah. Well, so it would make sense that they would try to co-opt them.
There was the Civil War. And the people that try to place, it was the Jews and this that like that. That's so that's crazy.
It's lazy,
and I'm an anti-Israeli Zionist, but that's just, to me, that's just pure.
You know what it is, Mr. Professor? Let me tell you what it is. In the independent media, there is people got to pay their bills. I'm gonna just put it like that. And every so often, there comes a topic where if you just double, triple, quadruple down that topic, you will grow exponentially fast. And at a certain point, the facts that you are presenting don't actually matter, nor do you have to verify them. We saw it at first, it was like the Bernie Trump economy, 2015, 2016, right? Then it was definitely the Trump economy, as a lot of the Bernie people. And by the way, Candace was an Obama girl before she became a Trump girl. And she was actually a Bernie girl before she became a Trump girl, right? So we saw this transition into the Trump economy. Now the Trump economy is failing, right? It is on a bubble and it is about to crash. So now there has been a transition to being anti-Zionist or anti-Israel. Now there are those of us who are anti-Zionist and anti-Israel because we are pro-Palestinian liberation and we are anti, using our money to create a greater Israel project and destroy the entire world. But then there are people like Dan Bilzerian, for example, who don't really care about Palestinians unless it is to use their plight and their oppression as a means to become popular as they were at one point, or become even more popular than they were, by focusing on it and then making the transition back into hate. Because hate, unfortunately, generates the most revenue for a lot of these people. And so that's what I feel like we're seeing happen. They don't genuinely believe that Jews are the problem or the cause of the Bolshevik Revolution. They're just working backwards from the conclusion that has made them the most money over the last year or so, which is, if we just talk about Jews, everybody will automatically assume it's going to be true. Even when, once again, like I said, the math doesn't math, especially in the case of the Bolshevik Revolution. Russia had a pretty good sized Jewish population, but overall, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because that would mean the Jewish population would have had to unite everybody for Jewish interests, and that wouldn't have worked in Russia in the early 1900s. It just wouldn't have worked. It was too diverse.
Absolutely.
It had to have been a class struggle that brought them together.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when the Bolsheviks took over, okay. Russia was much more like, I think somebody pointed out, and I think it's true, much more of still a feudal economy. It hadn't entered the phase of like this great industrial revolution yet, and where most of Western Europe was, okay. And a lot of the theorists and stuff, it was just simply the fact that most of the Russian peasantry, which was the majority of the people, were illiterate, and
true.
Jewish people just had a very high literacy rate, and I would also say that they, I would bet for the most part that they were true believers for the most part. They really believed in it, whereas like guys like you just said, was that guy is that's like saying Jesse Ventura is a Thomas Jefferson. You know what I mean? Like that guy is like he's a clown, but
Dan Bilzerian. You're telling me you're not going to vote for you wouldn't vote for Dan Bilzerian in Florida if you had the chance? You don't believe in it? I can't believe he's running.
I don't live in Florida. Yeah. But no, I can't. Like all those people. What's crazy is that they're going to get the credit though for there's a big turn around going on. Like Linda Sarsour was speaking on Monday that Israel is losing the PR battle so bad that they're essentially dismantling AIPAC, and they're turning it into 4 or 5 different smaller super PACs that have much more the same way like the Patriot Act is. There's nothing patriotic about the Patriot Act. It's very Orwellian. It's like they're coming up with these crazy names that are like
It is a caricature of communism that has been presented to us over the years, basically. Like the hyper surveillance state, security state. That's what the Patriot Act is. Completely and totally unpatriotic and is representative of the caricature of communism we've been presented.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out though, and I would just say that had that been true, because I've heard the same. I heard a kid I grew up with. I couldn't believe it. He was like, "Oh, they crucified millions of Christians in Russia." Yeah. I was like, "Where the hell are you getting this information from?" Yeah. And I was like, it was the manosphere or whatever it's called, And
that sounds about right,
dude. Look at those churches. Those beautiful, like they would have just the same way the Taliban blew those mountains up with those ancient Buddhas on them and stuff like that.
That is a brilliant point. That's a brilliant point because Russia is known for its beautiful church architecture. It's beautiful. They never, and usually when you're trying to erase the history of somebody, because if it was a Jewish takeover, like we know what Jewish supremacist takeover looks like because we've seen it happen in Israel.
Here it goes. Yeah. Thank you for joining the show, by the way, baby Aga Forest Dweller 400. Stalin was ethnically Jewish, and he changed his name from Jacob Jugoslavov, a son of a Jew. Here we go with the bullshit. Here we go with the bullshit.
So hold on.
The guy was almost a goddamn Orthodox Christian priest.
Can I intervene with that? Just because your dad, if that was the case, was Jewish, that does not make you ethnically Jewish by Jewish rules. Right. Your mother has to be Jewish. First of all,
you have to convert.
It's maternally passed down, but
exactly.
But that's all nonsense too. And the one thing that Stalin did that was, it was sort of brilliant, was that he knew that it was a peasant class that were, they were pretty much illiterate, but they were very religious with the Eastern Orthodox. And even though he didn't believe in he no longer believed, he would have been a fool not to use that kind of the iconography and the ways of speking in those terms. And he did. You just all you have to do is look at the Soviet propaganda of the time, and he's looked upon. That was the whole thing, right? The Romanovs, all kings and everything. Since the Romans, they weren't gods, but they were just below there, and that's what gave them the authority, it was God-given. It was a God-given authority to rule over, all these people. That's why the American Revolution was, I think people forget about it because we have 21st century minds now and stuff like that. But that was a radical thought that you don't need any kings and that people can rule themselves. Now, that's not to say that they would not without many, many flaws, but that was still the aspirational ideals were on the money. You know,
that ideology is still here today. That people can't rule themselves. Like the way anarchy is approached and looked at, right, is kind of demonized and whatnot. And it's just this. There's the people is like, well, you know, the rule of anarchy is for those who know with it. There are rules. People's like, there's no rules with anarchy. No, there's rules. There's just no rulers. That's the old anarchy saying that I know, and I understand where anarchists are coming from in certain points. They just don't want no oppressors ruling over them. They don't want anybody to have a monopoly on violence. So, I mean, the idea itself, and for people to think today, and this is why they are bastardizing the Bolshevik Revolution in front of our very own eyes today, is because they don't want you to ever believe that there could be a class uprising, because the disparity in the United States between the 1% and the 99% keeps getting bigger and further away. So if they don't keep people divided, and they don't believe, and they make you believe that a class revolution is never possible, then they can always control you. And they're trying to usher in us into this track and trace system, the fourth industrial revolution, the Great Reset. That's what AI is being used for and whatnot. I mean, you know, it's just it's ridiculous the way they have everybody fighting.
I think I mentioned it last time. It's not even the idea, because they can control, you know, they have control of the media, but if it were to take place, it's what they're scared of is the model of it, is the model of people taking issues into their own hands and doing what's right, like what Fidel did in Cuba. It wasn't that they didn't care that he was fighting with the South Africans and, you know, in Africa, and you know, I mean, they didn't.
Who was fighting with South Africans?
Sorry?
Who was fighting with South Africans? You mean fighting on the side of the South Africans?
He was fighting against in Zimbabwe. He was fighting. It's been a long time since I read Che's African Diary, but most of them he was fighting. They were mainly white mercenaries from South Africa.
Yeah, he was fighting against the South African apartheid state. Yeah, yes, facts.
You get the Mandela talking to Castro, right? You have that
what's scary to them is the idea of that. Just a thought, just a small thought on anarchism. I think that it's a project that can work on a small scale. It's very, very difficult to put that kind of program into a country of 330 million people, you know? But if you lived in a country of, you know, like I'll just take, you know, whatever, if it were in Grenada or something, and you know, the people with the intellect to do it, it can be done. You know, collectivization and workers collectives and things like that, which scientific Marxists believe, and I was shocked to hear this because I talked to a lot of them in England and stuff like that. They believe that it's actually going to happen here first, because they think that we're getting wiped out right now. We're basically going to become bankrupt. We're going to lose the petrodollar. We're going to kind of cave in on ourselves, become a much more what do you call that when you're home protective? You know what I mean.
I do.
What? Yeah. Okay. So I don't have to remember the name of it, but you know, a Fortress America type thing. But what's going to be demanded is that you know, universal health care, and that we're going to have to start using our large scale state expenditures, not so much on battleships and all these other things that are relics, and more on infrastructure. And you know, when you think about it, it could happen. You know, I mean, if the UAE is gone, the Saudi Arabia. You know, we get kicked out of the Middle East, which it looks like we're going to. What do you got? Well, you got what you got. You got. We have resources that we're going to have to start either nationalizing, or we'll have a civil war, either literally or figuratively.
I think they're hoping that we have the Civil War. That's what I think they're hoping.
A civil war? How? I don't even understand how that civil war will work. Like, who how would I know who my actual enemy is? Because it isn't a black versus white thing anymore. It isn't a North versus South thing anymore.
No, it's
it is really, it's supposed to be working class versus working class, but we all look the same. Like,
Professor, who do you think it's going to be against?
Well, I think that there's going to be, if you ever read George Fitzhugh, who wrote the book Cannibals All, and he was probably like the most articulate defender of the Southern slave owners, right? Because what he was saying was, see, it's not us, because they were pre-capitalists by owning slaves. It's not us. We love, this is, now I'm quoting him. This isn't me talking. We love our subjects. We take care of our subjects. You Northerners are the anti-Negro racists, because you just want to rent their labor, and then as soon as they break down, throw them to the side. And they meant that not only about African Americans, they meant that about Irish Americans, and what would later become Italian Americans and whatnot. And they would it was actually a common thing. They called one of the first things they called Irish were muckers, and the reason they called them that was because if you were building say latrines, with basically outhouses,
bathrooms for you guys who don't speak military,
for 250 slaves, or for 200 slaves or something. Listen, a slave cost you $250 a person. Let's just say round number. You can get an Irishman off the boat to go down there and dig and possibly die from the fumes for a nickel a day. You're not going to risk your investment on that. You can get this guy to work for an hourly rate, for an hourly wage. You know what I mean? So I think it would just take that kind of form where people would have to decide. Well, listen, do you want to make a living wage? Do you want to have health care? Do you want to have a good school for your kid to go to? Well, then, we've got to stop sending money for genocides, and because large scale state expenditures, when they come to foreign aid, for instance, okay, for the most part, all that is, in my opinion, is working class and the working poor from rich countries giving money to millionaires and billionaires from so-called poor countries.
Yep.
A lot of times, yeah, that's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. First of all,
up with it.
Great points. I think that we gotta transition to this Iran conversation really quick, because
well, let's let the professor say goodbye, and then we're gonna get into Iran. If we have everybody on the phone, we can handle that. But Professor, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
We appreciate and love you, Bubba.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just a great show, guys. Great points. I was sorry I was on hold so long. That's the only thing I don't like about being on hold, is I can't still hear the conversation. But thank you very much.
Man, hey, we got some of the smartest callers in all of call-in radio, man.
We had that was two heavyweights right over there. It's professors,
genius
professors, and guys who know that they're shit and what's going on. But
when somebody breaking down to you like revolutions year by year, the exact cause of what part of the revolution, like it's rare that you don't get a lot of shows like that, bro.
You got to paint a picture, right? And I've been talking about this for years, and I've had Don on, I've had Caleb Maupin on to talk about the Bolshevik Revolution, because I've seen this this shit going on. Like, you know, like I said, that the Romanov family, the Satanist, it's like, and there's people in the chat right now that's over there once again still insisting that Stalin married a Jewish woman who was the most
maybe.
you know, that it was just all this bullshit. They're still trying to make this about Jews killing Christians, and it's just
even if Stalin married a Jewish woman, what would that have to do with anything? I'm going like, okay, and Stalin was still one of the best leaders in the world. Actually, I don't know why. What did that have to do with anything?
The Russian people, they, you know, and people go, "Oh my God, Stalin." You know, my friend, I got some comedian friends, right? They lean conservatively. And one of them in particular always talks about, oh my God, you know how many people Stalin killed, how many people he oppressed, he ruled with an iron fist. Hearing Douglas McGregor, right? Hearing Douglas McGregor,
military guy?
The military, yeah. And I like a lot what he has to say when he talks about the military and stuff. But when he talks about the history of Stalin and the USSR, it's kind of just nauseating at times. And hearing even when Candace starts talking about like communism and stuff, it's like nauseating. Fucking
yeah, after they go on after they pontificate about like what would happen if the people just took the power back from the elites and the money was actually spent on programs that the working class need. You're like, oh, you mean like communism? No, not communism. That's disgusting. Why would you even say?
Yeah,
okay, well, I know. I'm saying I just want the elites to stop stealing from the poor. And make sure that the poor benefit from the work that they're contributing to society. Oh, okay. So
Napoleon was marching in to fucking take Moscow. The people of Moscow burnt down their capital and said, fuck you. We would rather burn down our capital than become a slave to your fucking
gangster shit.
You think that these people in that region are going to just follow Stalin because he had a heavy hand? Like, no, these people would rather fucking die than be slaves to anybody. They followed Stalin because they believed he was a great leader.
They chose Stalin
and saw the differences within their country as they were living in shacks. And that guy hurried with Lenin and right after Lenin to modernize and industrialize his fucking country. I mean,
they chose.
Again, I don't have a Stalin shirt. I'm not an ideologue. I'd rather just clean my own house first. But hearing these people turn that into a story, and they're doing it when you talk about all these people, when you talk about Candace Owens, Dan Bilzerian, Stu Peters, Myron Gaines, who else?
Myron Gaines a fucking Johnny, piece of shit. Excuse my language.
They're all, number one, they're all anti-collectivist. They don't want any type of socialism. They want a capitulation back to the status quo of the crony capitalism we have today. They're all anti-immigrant and they're all pro-Christian. And I'm not talking about pro-Christian as far as like, hey, you have a right to go ahead and fucking live your life and praise to any God and any religion you want. No, they want to insert their religion into our politics,
which is weird. Can we talk about how weird that is? Can we talk about how weird that is in the case of Dan Bilzerian, who was like a damn heathen of heathens? Like that man, his life and his lifestyle is anything but Christian. Myron Gaines, in his life and his lifestyle that he's preached is every and anything but Christian. Myron Gaines has not given a damn. Like he talks about, you know what? Once again, and I think we talked about this last week too. The reason a lot of these people, especially like Myron Gaines and Dan Bilzerian, they don't like Jewish people, and because they call everything Jewish supremacy, but not everything is Jewish supremacy. Yeah. There are Jewish supremacists. Not everything is Jewish supremacy.
Exactly.
So be clear about that.
Exactly.
Like, it's really simple. But Dan and people like Myron Gaines, they see those one or two or three or four Jews at the top as impeding them from being as successful and making as much money as they possibly can. So they're looking for a scapegoat, and Jewish people are the scapegoat that they're using at the moment. But people in Myron Gaines' case, at one point, it was black people and immigrants who were the scapegoats. Then it was like weak men who were the scapegoats. And it was women who were the scapegoats. I'm like, bro, okay, it's everybody's fault that you aren't as successful. Like, bro, just say you hate yourself. You hate yourself. And you're looking for attention however you can get it. This flavor of the week is anti-Zionism, which you then flip into anti-Jewish, like Jewish hate, like, which is, once again, doesn't really help anybody, because when you go back and look at Nazi Germany, who were the ones that were saved and who were the ones that that actually did suffer from Holocaust? Like, Zionists were cut a deal and were protected and were allowed to maintain their military party in Nazi Germany, and the rest of the Jews, that whole Jewish supremacy shtick didn't stick.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem, right? Because right nowadays, and that's why I'm very fucking stern when people use the term Jew versus Zionist, and I say no, it's a Zionist, because at the end of the day, and like you pointed out, this is something that Dan Bilzerian talks about all the time. It's this Jewish supremacy. No, there's Jewish supremacists and there are Jews. There's two different fucking things. Stop conflating the two, because if you conflate that. Or what's in the Talmud or what's in the Torah, then you have to do the same thing to the fucking Bible, where I can tell you plain and simple, you cannot live in the stomach of a fucking whale for 2 days. Snakes do not speak. We talked about the flood.
Why are you eating pork?
Global flood, where a guy fucking took in lions and tigers and bears on my. I mean, just fucking stop.
Yeah,
all these Abrahamic religions have their allegories. They have their fucking bullshit. You have every right to praise them, but stop conflating the fucking two. And that's why I'm very strong on saying Zionism is different than Judaism. It
Christians would be living like Muslims, Pasta. They would have to live their lives very similar to the majority of Muslims if they wanted to adhere strictly to all parts of the Bible. And of course, once again, like every time you commit a sin, you trying to kill a goat, because that's what you'd be doing. You know what I'm saying? Why are you women? Like, Candace shouldn't be showing her hair if she wants to adhere strictly to the Bible. You know, like it's... I understand why people are frustrated that there are a select group of people running the world, and a lot of them happen to be Jewish. And that's something that I'm very privy to as a black man, because I watch small groups of people run the world all the time. It's been my whole life. However, let's go ahead and take a step back. Are there more Jewish people in the world, or are there more Zionists in the world? And if there are more Zionists, it's because who is part of the Zionist community? The Christians.
Yeah.
It isn't the Muslims, obviously. So the Christians, there are more Zionist Christians than there are Jews in totality, guys.
Yeah.
Not just Zionist Jews, in totality.
Yep.
So is it a Jewish supremacy problem? Or is it, once again, do we have to go back to it's a class problem? There is definitely a racial component to it. Absolutely. Because it's not like all Jews get the same rights. We know African, Ethiopian, and a lot of times Arab and Persian Jews, they're not treated the same way. Palestinian Jews aren't treated the same way. So there is a supremacy aspect of it. There is a class aspect of it. But we cannot go around pretending that every single Jewish person is a supremacist, and like all of history can be defined through like leaders randomly being Jewish and we just never knew about it, et cetera, et cetera. Because I remember at one point everybody was saying, and I still don't know if this is true or not, that Hitler had some relationship with the Jewish community via his mother. Okay, and it didn't stop him from killing a bunch of them. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, and Ben Carson is allegedly black. You know, these things happen. It doesn't mean he's going to advocate for the black community.
Yeah.
So I want to. Can we get into this Iran?
We don't have much time, so let's get into it. We got about 18
Bro,
minutes before the show ends.
Dog, we were just talking about this fake fight Netanyahu and Trump had.
Yeah,
and it was fake. I covered it on Hotspot. I said this is nonsense because what's happening is Trump is realizing how unpopular this war is. Trump is also realizing Iran could beat the United States at any moment in time, and really they've been kind of taking it easy on them. A ground invasion is not going to work, and any chance of a peace deal is going out the window as long as Israel keeps attacking Lebanon. And it's not like Trump is saying we don't like you guys winning this war, but you're losing the war. It's costing us money, and Iran is causing us problems because of you. So is he irritated by it? Probably. Is he going to cuss Netanyahu out about it? Probably not. And will he do anything about it? Absolutely not. That is my judgment on whether or not Trump was truly pissed as they were trying to portray him as being during that call with Netanyahu, the man who literally takes his laundry to the White House to get done. There was he knew that if this war, or if Israel kept attacking Lebanon, it would mean that every single ally in the region, including the United States and their assets in the region, would be attacked by Iran, and Iran has proven very capable of doing so while taking minimal damage on their end. And yet they haven't come out and said a single word, Pasta, since Iran ramped up its attack specifically because of this. So theater has better acting. Can't call it theater anymore. There's better acting in theater, Pasta. I don't know what the hell you want to call this. Quentin Tarantino movie? I don't know. Shit.
Yep. I think that somebody wanted me to play a Thomas Massey video, but Thomas Massey was on, I think it was redacted the other day, and he said it's like
when
he made a tweet about this too as well. And they talked about the fact that like, oh yeah, this is like the second time we've had this happen, right? I had somebody say, oh, Trump is putting Netanyahu on a leash. I'm like, you're fucking crazy.
He's not.
This was like a year and a half ago when the fake fight, the first fake
Hey,
fight.
caller, where you calling from? What's your name?
Caller, where you calling from?
My name is Don. I'm calling from Austin, New York.
Oh, another
What's
one.
going on?
I just want to make a point, okay, that I didn't get to make before, which is right on point with what you're talking about now. People have the illusion, and they speak in the terms that Israel is a nation state where there's some kind of collective decision-making indigenous to the place. And so Israel is the Jewish homeland, quote unquote. Therefore, the acts of Israel are the acts of Jews. Also, the same illusion about the United States.
Yep.
Particularly just looking at our government, because this is the same situation in Israel, Palestine, by the way. The people who administer the state are selected by the people who run all of this shit. And their ethnic identity means absolutely nothing. This is the small collection of people that are running the whole fucking world outside of Russia, China, India, and Brazil, and a few others. And so when you're looking at it, if you're not looking at it from that perspective, then things about Netanyahu and Trump, who's pulling whose chain and all that makes sense. But they don't make sense if you understand what's really happening. And that is, this elite has some puppetry doing a dance in front of us, so we fight with each other instead of grabbing the puppets and pulling the string and getting our hands around the neck of the people who are playing with the puppets.
Getting neck around the hands of the puppet master. That's it.
Okay, amen.
Brilliantly put, Don.
On the bar. Wait for coming back in. Dude, I always say the technocrats got more power than the Zionists in some ways. I mean, and I'm not necessarily, that's not 100% true. What I'm trying to say is that there is this ruling upper class, and a lot of it is, I think, people hiding in the shadows, right? You don't know exactly who they are, who are making all these decisions, weaponizing religion, weaponizing race, weaponizing anything they can to divide the people to fight each other rather than look up and grab them by the fucking neck, like Don said.
And I would make an argument that there are some ruling elites that may not be Zionists, but they want to keep they're billionaires now, and they're like, well, I gotta be Zionist to keep this money, so I guess I'm a Zionist now. There are a lot of people like that, but like at the end of the day, the Jared Kushners of the world, for example, bro. This man just slid up and bought an island, and then him and Ivanka are trying to pretend as if no one knew the island existed. How? And then we witnessed them over. They basically undermine the public purchasing process of any land. I don't know if you know that the land went from being owned by the state to now then being put up for sale like weeks, if not days, after Trump became the president. And it's like, bro, how does this stuff happen? And you gotta be real about the elites allow it to happen. Somebody, the prime minister of Albania, doesn't have much of a choice in the matter. I want to be very clear about that. He doesn't. I know we want to be like, yeah, no, he's a prime minister. Yeah, when you're a prime minister of a country like Albania, the reality of the situation is, unfortunately, without the protection of people like Russia, like you used to have, you don't have much of a choice. Kushner comes in, bro.
Man, the leader of Albania, man, like Patrick Henningsen just did a really good interview yesterday. There's a lot of weird history with that guy.
Right? Did they suspend the project, Sleepy?
I think it's suspended, but this was
under investigation.
He was talking about like the Albanian leader. He's got a lot of ties to Zionists, all kinds of shit going back decades. So
yeah, I didn't even get to go into it on my hotspot video yesterday, but yeah,
it's a little suspect.
And speaking of like just the connections that possible talking about, do y'all know how Kushner and Ivanka discovered this island? They were just on a random yacht in the Mediterranean.
Yeah,
and they were on a yacht with Nat Rothschild, and Nat Rothschild connected them to the Albanian government, and that's how this whole process.
To the top barefooted.
Like, bro, and it's like they protect like this. I know to us, this island may not have seemed like a big deal, but to Albania, this island is like not just a historic landmark, but it was effectively a fortress by their standards. It has innumerable military applications. This wasn't some land you just popped up on, just like, oh man, this looks pretty. What's the name of this island? It had its own name already. There's a whole history behind the island. That's why it was state-owned. It's probably was state-owned up until that point for security purposes, to be completely honest. But just because Kushner is an elite, Ivanka's an elite, the prime minister got his eye on his ties, Rothschild obviously is an elite. The elites ended up making the final decision in that land purchase, and that is what we are up against. I don't think that some random Jewish kid in New York at NYU had anything to do with that. And he ain't going to be able to benefit from it. They made it very clear that's for the elites of the elites. And I'm pretty sure, given, Kushner's history, it's going to be for the Zionist elites, because there's certain teams you have to play for if you want to benefit in this destructive capitalism that we're seeing destroy the world. Like, you have to play ball and play for each other's teams. And there's no way like Pasta or I, no matter how much money we would make, could even think about getting a group together and, hey, man, how about we convince the federal government to overturn a bunch of policies to let us buy land? I don't care how much money we have. We don't play for that team. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. All right. The first time we were quiet the whole show with 10 minutes to go, guys. I know we want to get one more last caller in, 561-247-2721. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about when it came to the Iran situation? I think we kind of covered the fact that this is a fake WWE fight, like most of the fucking shit we're seeing now in the United States, the Kabuki theater. The election system is so bad, right? And the reason why I'm so like diehard about elections is that if we are going to have what we consider to be the people's choice, that method, that system of having the people's choice needs to be airtight and really work. We have to have the ability for we the people to hire and fire people at will. We don't have that. And in states like California, where it's just fucking ridiculous, it's really, really, really catching up. The nepotism, the awful judges that are in play that have been appointed by Gavin Newsom and his fucking bullshit with his elections and stuff. I mean, his recall for me wasn't about a real recall. It was about him reassessing all the Democratic establishment COVID fucking protocols, because he came right out of that whole fucking recall and acted like people were saying yes to all these things, and he tried to jam them down people's throats. And I'm talking very like dystopian fucking style fucking laws, allowing kids to make decisions without their parents' consent and hiding that information for them, whether it be for a shot or something else. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Or hiding and withholding death certificates so that people couldn't get autopsies.
That too. I mean, there were so many fucking things that were so bad. And,
I mean, look at the situation with Butch Ware, bro. Like,
he didn't even get on the ballot.
But no, here's the thing, Pasta. So we got to clear that up. He did get on the ballot. Then he was denied that because they said that he didn't complete the forms correctly. Then when he goes to court, he shows that first of all, he turned everything in on time in the dates they gave him. But they get to court and find out, based on the documents that the other team, that Democrats had, he did turn the form correctly. But also they tried to falsify his documents that he did turn in to make it look like he didn't turn it. They committed fraud. And instead of us having that conversation, which is the conversation that I have, Paz tries to have, Fiorella tries to have, like, okay, now, fuck the election. Why are we just letting the Democrats decide, like, literally commit fraud, federal fraud, criminal fraud to keep a candidate off the ballot? And we're still trying to figure out if we should vote for Steyer or what's the other guy's name? I think Latino?
Javier Becerra, who was just fucking awful, Becerra, the HHS secretary. Like, he made sure the elites got all their money. And that was the thing. This is how you know there's no difference between Donald Trump and the fucking Democrats. Donald Trump signed the fucking CARES Act. And then Javier Becerra came in under the Biden administration and just took the fucking baton and ran with it and made sure all their fucking buddies, whether they be on the right or the left, the Republican or the Democratic establishment, got all their money through COVID fucking protocols. I mean, that's why you had a guy in Florida got killed he died in a motorcycle accident. They put him in the hospital.
You remember that?
And then they gave him a COVID test, and he had COVID. This guy is already dead in a bike.
They read out his name.
They listed his death as a COVID death.
So they read out his name during a live press conference at University of Miami's hospital, guys. I was there. I watched the press conference live. I was like, what the and I remember they talking to Positive. I'm like, yo, did y'all see this shit? Am I going crazy? And even people in the crowd were like, huh? Yeah, but that happened in Brazil. My barber was just telling me because Bolsonaro was in lockstep with Trump during COVID, if you remember, Pasta, and he was saying that his mother-in-law passed away. They 2 days after going into the hospital, it was just like she was a little bit sick. Next thing you know, she was dead. They went to try to figure out what the cause of death was. They said it was natural causes, and then they were like, "Okay, so show us the documentation, please." Because you're supposed to get all that when you go to, take them from the hospital to the morgue. So they wouldn't give it to her, and then they said, "Well, but the cause of death is COVID." They're like, "What? She didn't have COVID." Well, but that's what they're saying the cause of death. That's what the nurse is saying. Okay, well, where are the documents proving that? Well, we can't actually find them. Well, she died 2 days ago. Not even 2 days ago. At that point, it was like a day ago. And they lost the doc. Why? Because the same thing happened in Brazil that happened in the U.S. If somebody died in the hospital while having COVID, they were given more money.
Yeah. That all went through, by the way, Javier Becerra, who is now going to be he was the number one vote getter in the runoff. And once again, I don't believe he got those votes. I believe this is for the job well done as HH secretary. Now you get to be governor of fucking California. Why? Because you have an election system where we can't see any of the counting, complete proprietary software. There's no chain of custody. Everybody on the voter list gets a mail-in ballot. The mail-in ballots can be taken in, ballot harvested from somebody else. They have so many different ways to cheat for their candidate of choice. And Javier Becerra is that candidate of choice for being
his hands are dirty, Pasta. Yeah. His hands are dirty. Yeah. So now Butch Ware actually made it a point to discuss all the ways that he would seek to hold Gavin Newsom accountable for all of his policies, especially over the last 5 years and then during COVID and all the money that they stole and the fraud that was committed, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But Becerra has his hands dirty. So if he just has a sudden, what do you call it, conflict of conscience, nah, bro, you going down with us. If you try to take me and my people down in the Denver, you're going down with us because you were an integral part in these corrupt COVID policies. And that's probably why he's being Tom Steyer right now, who isn't better by any stretch of the imagination. Right? I mean, I forgot who Tom Steyer was. And so I'm like, hold up, didn't he run for president? And he was that forgettable. But Butch Ware was polling. People got to remember, in the situation with Butch Ware, it was Katie Porter was supposed to beat Butch Ware. It was supposed to be her governorship. And he just took it to her to the point where she faded into nothingness and they had to find somebody else quickly.
Yeah.
People forget about that.
Yeah, they just put this guy, they put him up and the numbers he got. I mean, Eric Swalwell, he got his, what, caught in a Chinese spy trap. So that really was crazy. The end of him. Niko, let everybody know where they can find you. It's the top of the hour. I got things to do. I got other shows to go on today, but
Mr. Popular,
you got a lot of stuff going on. Our Tuesday guest, I mean, we just started talking and 2 hours just flew by. I love when you join the show and you co-host because all your peeps come in here and cause a lot of problems, and that's what we need. Thank you for coming on in and throwing you. No, seriously, I love the opinions out there. I love the voices. I love to have conversations about this. You know what I'm saying? This is important stuff out here. These are the conversations, and this is why I started the show, so we can beat back against the mainstream media that's controlling the narrative. Now you become part of the fucking story, and you get to speak about what's important to you, and we can talk about the issues and the topics that aren't being discussed out there, and we can call it like we see it. And more effectively, we do call balls and strikes here, and I appreciate Niko coming on and calling balls and strikes. Let everybody know where they can find you, Niko.
Bro, first of all, let me just say you are absolutely right. Being part of my live chat and being even a fan of my show is not for the faint of heart because you will be challenged. And that includes myself, I love being challenged like that. It's how we grow, right? You know, what they say, metal sharpens metal, iron sharpens iron, all that good stuff. And that's the only way we can continue to grow as a populace is if we continue to challenge each other. So, and 2 hours, bro, every time, man. Pasta. We could be in the house talking for 4 or 5 hours, bro. I love you, man. It's as always, it's been a pleasure. You can find me on Twitter or X at Real Niko House, Niko with a K. Don't forget. On Instagram at Real Niko House as well. You can also follow us on Hotspot, where we post content every single day. At Hotspot on X. And obviously, you can follow my Hotspot brothers as well. Nick's crew, Socials MMA, and David Hundayan, the foremost expert in all things African.
Thank you so much. That is Niko House, guys. Let's cue the music. We are going to wrap it up today. Look, as we wrap up today's show, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of diversity of thought and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you to reach out to someone with a different viewpoint. Share a meal, have a conversation, a cup of coffee, or simply listen. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond, because sometimes conflict can often bring resolution. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a more brighter, more peaceful future. So until next time, keep the dialogue flowing and that peace growing. For Sleepy J, Gabrielle Freedom, Fred Edward, who else do we have? We had Don DeBar, Kevin the Professor. Thank you so much for calling on in, guys. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Karen Kwiatkowski will be on deck on the show. This was Drive Time in the morning. Until then, peace.